I spend a lot of time talking about how you don't need to spend money to build cars. But I was presented a great question by my buddy Squirrel over at Squirrel's Workshop. Go check out his channel. He does some great work over there. He wanted to know, what do I consider to be the non-negotiables and what you need to spend money on. That's today's Talk About It Tuesday subject. I'm Mike. You're watching My Car Shop. I mean, let's face it, if you're going to have a car, somewhere or another, you're going to spend money, even if it's just for gasoline and for oil. But when you do what we do around here, there are other things that even I spend some money on, but it might not be quite as clear cut as you think. We can use our Fundestruck 39 Dodge pickup project as an example and compare that to our 1970 Dodge Stitches Challenger that's right behind. The whole point of building this car was to spend as little as possible, and there are a couple hundred episodes on the channel explaining all of that. We didn't buy much for this car. We did buy some cheap, real cheap Sherman quarter panels because they're difficult to make, and I wanted to expedite that process. And other than that, we bought very little for this car to get it to this point. Everything is hand fabricated. I've said that over and over again, but for new people here who don't know, we've hand fabricated rear frame rails, floor pans, yada, 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 yada. The only other things that we would have spent money on had one of our good friends over at Captain Kurt's Garage not helped us out, would have been on things like control arm bushings and stuff. He donated all of the polyurethane bushings and upper control arms and stuff for this car, but we would have spent money on that because the reality is on these cars, those things deteriorate over time, and stuff that's as old as what was on this car wouldn't have been good. Now, we did put a complete duster disc brake setup on this car, so there is some mix and match here. But at the end of the day, rubber stuff I generally replace. We did not put tie rods, ball joints, and all that kind of stuff on here. Rather, we went through and found the best of the best of everything I had kicking around from all of these years, and we used all of that. The ball joints are tight, the tie rods are tight, the drag link is tight, the pitman arm is tight, everything is good. So we checked all of that stuff to make sure that it was good before we put this car together. Reason being, we didn't want to spend the money. We're trying to keep the expense on this car as low as possible, and it's not a car that's going to be driven tons. It's going to be driven occasionally, and it's going to be just a cruiser, big block 4-speed car. So you know what we got for it. But so that's the places that I spent money on this car. Will there be some other places? Yeah, there will. Like probably, even though I have a windshield, it's not the greatest. I'll probably go ahead and just buy a windshield for it. The windshield is a sort of a glue-in. It's a butyl seal on this, so we probably won't need to buy anything other than a tube of butyl for the front and the back. Some weather stripping we'll likely buy, but we haven't bought much. The rear bumper was a takeoff, a return piece that didn't meet somebody's standards, so we didn't pay a lot for that because I didn't have a rear bumper that wasn't bent like a pretzel. Yeah, we did buy a cheap plastic dash cover for the dash because we didn't want to spend the money on that. So there's money that we'll spend, but compare that to the Fundestruck, especially on certain things, and it's a little bit different. On this one, we didn't go top of the line, but it was spare no expense when it came to things like brakes, ball joints, all the rubber parts, tie rods. We bought everything for this truck because this is going to be my wife's nice weather driver. And when I say nice weather, I mean when we're not in the middle of a blizzard. She's going to drive the wheels off of this thing, and I want it to be safe for her. So I put everything new in so that I don't have to worry about that. If I was going to be the one driving this, I wouldn't have gone that far with it, but it wasn't that much money through Rock Auto to get everything anyway. And so we went ahead and did that. So with safety items, I'm not going to 100% say put everything in new. No, I won't, because I don't believe that's necessary like we did on the Challenger. But if it's a worn safety item, obviously we're I'm telling you, buy that stuff. The Forsyth Duster is another great example here. If you've been around the channel, you've seen us working on this one. We're going to be back on this car again real soon, even though it doesn't look like it, but this car is a 9,000 mile, all numbers matching car that was a drag car almost all of its life. We're not putting it back to factory original restored were preserving this as the drag car that it was from about 1971 up until the mid 80s when they stopped racing it. It was towed to the drag strip. It was run down the track. It was towed home. There was many seasons it didn't run because it was broke. But it's kind of a legendary car locally. Bob was a legendary drag racer in the area. And we feel that as a tribute to Bob, we're going to put this back together again the way he had it, somewhere in the mid part of his racing it before he swapped out the original 340, which I have, for the Mopar Performance crate motor that he had in it before he broke the transmission, and then put it in his other orange Duster. So this car, because we're trying to do this quicker, this is where we did spend some money. And there's a lot more to this story I'm not telling you yet, so just bear with me. For those who know the story, thank you for bearing with me on this. Um, we did go ahead and purchase quite a bit of stuff for this car to get it done quickly. Now, it hasn't gotten done quickly, but that's because there's been a lot of moving parts here in the shop that I've had to work around. Life happens. But we purchased not high dollar stuff, but we purchased most of the floor pans. I did make some. We bought the transmission cross member slash torsion bar mount cross member. We're going to have to make the inner rocker. So what I would say is, I'm not against anybody spending money. I know you understand that. I try to do everything as low buck as I can to demonstrate that it can be done. But we also look at the timeline. So when I get on this thing and I really start hammering on it, it's not going to take me a ton of time because I don't have to make everything. So weigh that out. What kind of time do you have? And the other part of that is, what do you really enjoy? I love fabricating. I love taking tin and bending it up and making something that didn't look like something and making it look like something that does look like something. So you have to consider that as well when it comes to spending money. And of course, the other thing is your budget. Do you have the money to spend? We contrast that with the 26 Oakland, and that's had some money spent on it because we're trying to keep that car from destroying itself. It's a survivor. It was parked for 75 years and not driven. We got it running about 5 years ago and driving again. We did what we had to do, like replacing a camshaft with a used camshaft that was nice and clean and polished. We replaced exhaust valves in that motor, but we didn't rebuild the motor. We did everything we could to preserve as much as possible of what that car was like when my great grandfather was driving it up until the end of the time that it was driven, until they parked it, put it up on blocks, which was 1946. When do I spend money? When I absolutely have to and it makes sense, or it's necessary. I would rather spend money on supplies for welders and saws and machines than I would on car parts that I can make. But there are some things that they're not impossible to make, but it doesn't make sense to make. And that's when it's worth looking at the options of what to buy. But overall, we really try to be like 80 to 90% making what we need. Engine parts, no, there's some, but here's an example. So I was in a 318 I am in a 318 performance group on Facebook, and a guy was asking about his 318. It is 2 thousandths over the spec on the cylinder bore, and he's saying, should I bore this out? And of course, purists are coming in and saying, yes, absolutely, bore it out, blah, 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 blah. Others are coming in and saying, run it. My take on it is, what are you going to use it for? If you're going to use it as a daily driver, 2 thousandths, ream the ridge off of it, throw a set of rings in it, and ship it. If you're going to race it, now we're talking a different world, and you're going to be putting some money into it. So the context of what you're doing with a vehicle, in my book, makes all the difference on when you should or shouldn't spend money. I'm not against spending money if you have it, but I want to clearly state that it's not necessary. I don't want anybody thinking they can't do the hobby because of money. It's a common sentiment. I've done so many episodes on so many of the lies that people believe because they say they can't afford it, everything's too expensive. Yeah, you can't. You can't afford it because you've decided you can't because you believe that it has to cost money. That's the reality. When you say you can't, you don't. You're not looking for a way. I admit I struggle to understand that because I've always been the kind of person that if I want to do something, I'm going to find a way to make that happen. See, I don't see obstacles, I see opportunities, and I'm always looking for opportunities. So it really is a matter of willpower and creativity and so forth. Now, if you have the money, and again, I've said it before, there's a lot of people who do have the money to spend on it. I've made a lot of money doing work for other people who that's the way they could enjoy the hobby. I have no problem with that. Some people think I do. Some people think that I'm saying um, that people who spend money on the hobby are um, kind of stuck up, and that is not what I'm saying at all. So please don't misunderstand that. But MKS is about what you can do on a shoestring budget, spending little to nothing. It's amazing what can be done when you change the way you view things and you change your mindset. Presenting alternative views is what we do here on Talk About It Tuesday, and it's probably another unpopular opinion video, but that's what we do here at My Car Shop. We try to challenge the common ways of thinking to say, maybe not. All right, that's going to do it for this one. I appreciate you hanging out here in the shop with me. I'm continuing on to get the shop under control. I got one more area to clean up. I got that area cleaned up today. We're going to forget about the body shop. That looks fine, but I do need to get the toolbox straightened up. That's coming. You probably won't see it. Feels good to have the shop under control because I got a customer pay job that I'm going to be doing here in the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to doing that. And one more thing around you. Oh, yes, we have channel memberships for as little as $5 a month. And you can get access to all kinds of behind the scenes content. But the one thing about MKS, if you've been around for a while, I encourage people to remember this. It's important that you don't forget. Rock!